Okay, thank you to everybody who's coming in the door. We'll go ahead and get started. Keep us on time as always. And for the folks, if anybody here, who's a first timer to our Rubin webinars? Can you just say, raise your hand or say that you're new? Because the returnee folks have heard some of this before, although I have another new little wrinkle. So something new no one's seen. And thank you for those who are new. I'll do a quick background on our company and offer some free resources as we always do. And then we'll get into the instruction today. So I'm Danny Rubin, talking to you from Virginia Beach, Virginia. And our company is Rubin. And we provide online curriculum for business communication skills, teaching students email etiquette, phone etiquette, and even video conferencing skills. How many in here have observed some frustration with your students' email writing or their phone skills, their video presentation skills? Raise your hand or let me know if that's something you observe. And so what we try to provide are resources that can help you to teach them these proper skills. So what we're going to do is run through several topics today quickly and then provide it to you after the fact to help students with their morale. We know where we're all feeling professionally heading into this year, and we know our students are feeling the same way, where they are thinking hard about, I have to be virtual again, I can't be with my friends again, my normal routine again. We really got to pick them up and start that year helping them feel accomplished, that the year is still in front of them. They can do great things no matter where they are. And so as always, we're going to keep it hands-on and practical so that you can take this material right into your lesson planning and get it into the flow of the year with ready to go exercises that you can just learn today and then run with afterwards. Let me start off by saying really quickly, in a past life before educational curriculum, I was a TV news reporter for a CBS news station. And then I transitioned from that role on TV into public relations, helping companies with their messaging, with their branding, with their reputation. And something that I haven't shown other folks, the folks who've come before, just to mix it up. I really am taking what works and what doesn't work out there in the world, in industry, bringing it back into the instructions. You can bring it to your students. So they are using modern, current communication methods to get results for themselves in any project that they may be working on. Let me share my screen and pull up a PowerPoint slide. Hopefully you can all see my PowerPoint slide, okay? I'm going to go to my current slide. Okay. So I want to show you, recently, I have been part of, through my PR work, pitching the media on 3 different foods. Hopefully we can all see this. The fresh beef burgers at McDonald's last year, delivering pizzas to healthcare workers during the COVID-19 crisis, and even pitching the media on a new pretzel shop in town. Doesn't this food look good? Hopefully you can see this food. Am I making anybody hungry? If you can see the food. Oop, sorry, got a little ahead of myself. Can we see it okay? So I'm taking real life businesses, helping them land media coverage on ABC, NBC, CBS locally. So these techniques are used out there in the world to get results for clients and customers. So I just want to give you another flavor of the work that we're doing out there in the world, bringing it into the classroom to help your students understand how to communicate effectively for whatever it is they're working on. Now, as always, we offer some free resources. This time we're giving free exercises, 5 of them, for boosting morale. And we're going to cover these 5 today: uncovering your true purpose, beginning a relationship with a mentor, sharing a powerful story of your work ethic, a simple technique for dynamic public speaking, and how to create a fun social media exercise, a personal hashtag. All of these are designed to give students a sense of confidence and empower them to pursue a college or career opportunity. So as always, if you are interested in these resources, and I'll mention it again at the end, but all you have to do is type interested in the chat. Is the simplest way to do it. Type interested in the chat, with your email address. And for those who are new, we'll follow up with a brief phone call in the coming days so that you can make the most use of these resources with your own students. Hopefully people can, there we go. I want to make sure you were hearing me okay. So type interested with your email address. Those of you who have been here before, you know the routine. The new folks, your name and email, and it's a quick call just to say, here's the material, here's how it's provided, here's the best way to make sense of it. Okay, we always want to give you something tangible from these webinars. I'm grateful for your time, and I want you to take this material and really use it, run with it, make it your own. Whether you've been here before or you're new, this is all new material. So please request it, and you're welcome to keep talking, putting it in the chat, and we'll mention it again at the end. Also, I want to put it on your calendar, as we always do. We have another webinar queued up. I want to get people's quick take on this one. We're going to talk about assignments that teach students to handle failure. How many of you, show of hands, feel like students really struggle with getting the answers wrong, making mistakes, feeling like the world has ended, I screwed up, right? And we know that making mistakes is part of life. The only way you're ever going to get better. So we're going to do practical exercises for college and career opportunities and employability skills that will teach students how to be okay with rejection, okay with failure. Use it as fuel for your fire. One door closes, another door will open. So we're going to do that August 5th. August 5th, 2 weeks from today, 12:30 Eastern. It might be the last one we do just for teachers, and we'll get back into the student webinars too, making it for them. But right now, let's keep it just with educators and really go after this topic in a practical way. So thank you to everybody who's said they're interested in the material. We'll get it out to you soon, and I hope you'll mark your calendar. We'll send a link for this webinar tomorrow morning, but just know that it's coming, and I'd love to have you there. Okay. Also, I mentioned this in the emails. I don't know how many of you saw this, but we're doing something different this time. For all of you who are here live, which I'm grateful for, we're going to send out a certificate of completion for attending this webinar. I've had that request from some teachers for continuing education credits, for PD. Give me a quick in the chat. If you had this certificate as a PDF, you could hold on to in your computer or print it out. What would you do with it? How would it help you to have a certificate of attending this webinar, either for you or into the school year for your students? How would this help you? I'm curious the feedback, because we want to start offering certificates of completion for coming to our webinars. Give me a quick thought in the chat if you don't mind, because we want to explore this and make it part of what we do. But this is coming your way for being here today live, okay? Okay, great. And make sure when you're commenting, you're switching it to all panelists and attendees. All panelists and attendees. So like I said, what we're going to cover today, uncovering your why or your true purpose, beginning a relationship with a mentor, sharing a powerful story of your work ethic, dynamic public speaking, and the personal hashtag. So we're going to get into all those. Let me share my screen once more. And to get into that, and I will keep this brief because I know we want to get into the material. I do want to explain for those who are new that we are drawing from our online curriculum today. Many of you have seen this, or some of you have used it. It's called Emerge. And we're teaching students to make that turn from being students to young adults. And to get there, we provide instructional modules on a variety of items, just to skip to the good stuff, and we'll start getting into our webinar. And thank you for the comments on the certificates. I think it's going to be a big part of who we are moving forward. We cover email etiquette, teaching how to write great emails, life skills like holding conversations with new people, phone etiquette, video etiquette. Raise your hand if your students struggle with basic phone skills like calling someone new or leaving a voicemail or even having their own voicemail, leading a Zoom conversation. Lots of hands being raised. We cover employability skills, career development skills, networking emails, resumes, storytelling cover letters. We're going to talk about stories in just a few minutes. Internship and job outreach emails, LinkedIn profile creation. Raise your hand if you'd like your students to learn the basics of LinkedIn and what that tool is and how to talk about yourself. We're going to talk about a LinkedIn skill in just a moment too. Job interview preparation. learning to develop a business idea, learning to write for sales, writing websites for a mock student business or for a student e-portfolio, public relations, as I mentioned, pitching a big event, a big announcement to the local news that's happening in the school or from a student project, fundraising writing, writing a grant application, writing a Kickstarter page for crowdfunding, and also writing skills as a manager, writing skills like down to the team, writing skills to clients appropriately, communicating within your team on projects, public speaking exercises, which we're going to talk about one in just a minute, writing reports and summaries appropriately about the work you're doing up to your teacher, up to even like a boss, an employer, and exercises for student leaders. I always want to ask this: who in here is an advisor to a career and technical student organization like DECA, FBLA, HOSA, Skills USA, or even on the college level, student organization advisor, BPA, excuse me, Business Professionals of America, FCCLA, HOSA. So we also have lots of good instruction on how to communicate as a leader within a student organization. So a big library of content, focused and practical, making sure they are ready to communicate to open doors for themselves. So with that in mind, let's hop over and dive into our webinar today and talk about some skills and some exercises to boost student morale. That's the theme today, and that's how we want to think about all of this instruction. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about uncovering our why, our true purpose. We touched on this in a previous webinar. Those who were at our LinkedIn session, we talked about LinkedIn profile summaries. I want to come back to it. And now through the context of teaching students how to write their elevator pitch. Who knows what an elevator pitch is? Raise your hand if you've heard that expression before, an elevator pitch. Who could go into the chat, tell me what that is? What is an elevator pitch and why do they matter? And why would we want to share that with our students? What is the purpose? A quick speech about you and your career. That's right. And I do want to point out what I'm doing right now, because I always want to be transparent about these sessions. Those of you who are at our webinar on how to be an engaging online instructor, what am I doing constantly? I'm asking questions. I'm asking you to engage, raise your hand, comment. There's like no time for you to like sit back and start checking Facebook, right? I'm keeping you with me the entire time. And that's so important to keep that in mind as you're doing your own preparation for virtual instruction, that you're constantly asking questions. It makes the time move quickly and it keeps the students right there in front of you. So on LinkedIn, there's a section called a profile summary. Okay, and I'm using our accessibility reading function that grays out the screen and just keeps you focused on a certain area. Okay, and so you fill in a paragraph, but LinkedIn gives you no guidance. They don't tell you what to write. They just say, here's a space, talk about yourself. But what they're actually asking you to do is give your elevator pitch. And what the elevator pitch should actually contain is your true purpose, your why. I'm sure many of you have seen Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why. We have the same mentality and the same philosophy over here. Start with why do you matter? And for a student, what do you hope to achieve out there in the world? What is it all about for you? So let me give you an example. For a student, this could be for college or for high school, but the example here is a college student, but you can see how it would easily apply. You start off with, who are you really? I'm a junior at Big State University who majors in computer science and minors in mathematics. Okay, the first line is like, who am I? What am I interested in? Okay, not just your name and not just where your school, but also who are you? Like, what gets you excited? The second section, what do you do? You might say, I'm a tech geek because I spend a lot of time in the school's computer lab. That's where we learn to deconstruct laptops and build them back together. I'm vice president of the campus computer club and love to pick apart a motherboard or hard drive and help people with their computer challenges. This is where the why starts to come through. We help students to identify and articulate their why. Can anybody tell me some of the key words that jump out to you in this section? What words do you notice? What catches your eye? Go in the chat and tell me. What catches your eye? What are you seeing when you're reading this quickly? a lot of time. Tech geek, deconstruct, help people. So there's lots of good words to hang on to here. Laptops, campus computer club, motherboard, hard drive, specifics, right? Keywords, real words that we can hold on to, the reader can process, right? So we want students to talk about what they are interested in doing in school, but being specific about it, using proper nouns, organizations. And also somebody mentioned that very last phrase of the last line, help people with their computer challenges. Let me step back and say all of our why, for you, for me, our why is how are we making someone else's life better? I'm hoping today, in some small way, I'm helping you in your planning in the most hectic time in the history of education, probably, or it's up there, right? I'm hoping that I'm helping you. And we want our students to also speak in those same terms. What impact do they want to make on others? Students will be successful. We will all be successful if we only try to make other people better. So we want to help them uncover their why by identifying it in this section. And lastly, bring them home, the last line. When I graduate, I hope to find a job that uses computers and the latest technology to make the world a smarter place. Again, focused on others. This last line is the student's why. Why? What is it all about? What gets them excited? We talk about boosting morale. I recommend early in the year, help them to articulate what gets them excited, what inspires them. They will not only create a LinkedIn profile summary paragraph, but it will become an elevator pitch they can use in job interviews, internship interviews, college interviews, scholarship opportunities. They can use it in portfolios. They can use this short paragraph so many places, and it helps them to articulate why they matter and what makes them excited about the future. I'd love to see, because we have a couple minutes here, or we can keep moving as people type. Can anybody take a shot at their own bring them home, especially heading into this year? What is your why? Go into the chat. Tell us all, what is your why in education? Why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? I'd love to see a line or two about that. And I'd like for us all to see, so we can see what I'm getting at and bring this back to our students. Maybe it's time for you to take your own line, add it to your own LinkedIn profile, your own teacher website, your own blog. What is it about teaching? Why would you continue to work, get up out of bed and fight hard for next year? Let's see, to share my knowledge and help young people in their quest to obtain a great career choice. Love it. I love to see students become successful. Jimmy Wardlaw, make sure everybody's putting all panelists and attendees as your chat. To be a CIO, the Chief Inspiration Officer. Love it. I love it. These are great. I know I'm asking you to do it at the drop of a hat. Take some time. Use this model for yourself and then share it with students. And let's all begin this year feeling like we can conquer the world because we understand why we matter and what we are here to do. These are great. To help students who are quietly suffering because they don't know how to get help. Wow, that's powerful. And actually, Marie, please share that all panelists and attendees so everybody can see. That was a wonderful line. Okay, feel free to keep them coming. I want to move on to the next topic, but show of hands, do we think we understand what I'm getting at here? That we want to help everyone understand, why do I matter? Why am I here? For you, for me, for our students, this is the time. This is a great exercise to start the year. Doesn't take long, but it'll get us in the right frame of mind. All right, thank you for participating, raising your hand, commenting. This is great. Let's hop over to our next topic around mentorship. How many of you now, with your industry partners, your business partners, the community, help students to either talk to industry professionals or obtain mentorship, ongoing relationships? Does that happen in your classrooms, in your schools? Let's talk about teaching students. Again, another way to feel like anything is possible. because we're going to make a great connection with somebody out there in the world who's going to look out for us, give us advice, guide us. Thank you for everybody commenting. So let's talk about, as we always do, right? We always get down into the nitty gritty. We know the expression, the devil's in the details, right? Let's talk about teaching students how to send a message to reach out to somebody to be a potential mentor. What does that message look like? And what are some strategies that can apply to all emails when we try to make connections? Let's talk about this message. And we always provide students with examples, right? We can't ask them to work on something without seeing an example first. Like any career and technical course, you need to see examples. Show me the how-to, show me the blueprint, then I'm going to make it my own. I'm going to do the work. So the subject line, need your advice. For instance, looking for job opportunities. Now, why would I say in the subject line, need your advice? Why would need your advice be better than saying looking for an internship or looking for a favor or looking for help? Why would advice be a better word to use? Why would I say advice there? How would it feel to you if somebody said, hey, I would love your advice for a few minutes? How would that feel to you? How would that hit you, even in a busy day? Susie Sims commented, and please share with everybody, all panels and attendees, empowering. Rashwanda says, it boosts my confidence. It's flattering, feels less contractual. Bingo. Bingo. We're just looking for help. We want someone to make us smarter. We're not looking for someone to do a favor for us. We just want to learn. So here's the example message. Hi, so-and-so. If you know the person, you can have a little bit of conversation. How's everything going at Big State? Are your students prepping for final exams? Or you can just say, start with, my name is so-and-so. I'm a graduate student, a high school student, a college student at whatever school. I came across, for instance, your profile on LinkedIn. I thought I'd make introductions, or however they were connected to that person. I'm focused on, for instance, landing a job after graduation. I would appreciate the chance to ask you questions. I know you have experience with the task at hand, whatever it may be, and I love some pointers to stand out and make an impact. That's an example of just, I want to learn from you. I want to go into this field. You work in this field. I want to learn from you in this field, whatever the situation. But this is the structure. Ask for advice, introduce yourself, explain the nature of the message. And then really moving us into this COVID-19 era, I would be happy to set up a phone call or a Zoom chat, right? We're not going to be able to meet in person right now like we typically would. So we're going to offer a phone call or a video conference. I hope to hear from you. So our hope is that since we've reached out the right way, asking for advice, introducing ourselves clearly, putting it in context, we stand the best chance of a response. And it's important to tell students, and we're going to talk about this in our handling failure webinar in a couple of weeks, if they don't answer the first time, give them a couple of days and write them back and say, I want to make sure you saw my message, right? I mean, how many times would students think, oh, they didn't write me back, they must not like me, right? They must not want to talk to me. And we want to say, no, 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 they may just have been busy. You have every right to write them back and just say, make sure you saw my first message, right? Because we have to fight for our opportunities. We have to fight for everything. It's not always just going to happen. There's going to be some struggle, but that makes us stronger. And this is another opportunity to learn those skills. And I'm looking at, oh, Susie says, hey, I need your help with something. Exactly. So I hope that for your mentorship programs, and if anybody wants to share in the chat their own sort of mentorship programs within the school, your year-over-year setup with how you connect students to the outside world, I'd love to see what you're doing. And I hope that this email model, which we'll provide afterwards for those who asked for it, it'll help you to give them the confidence to start these conversations, to write these messages, to open a door early in the year, to give them a sense that someone out there cares, outside of the school, and is going to help guide them through these choppy waters that we're all in right now. If you have a question about it, let me know, but we'll move on to the next topic. Keep us moving. I always want to, finish on time and leave time for some Q&A. We have a lot more good stuff to talk about. Okay, so that was the how to open a door for mentorship. Let's hop over. And I've talked about this one time before, I believe, on a webinar, but for those who are new or for anybody, I just want to keep stressing this theme because it's so important. This upcoming academic year is the year of resilience for you, for your students, for the administrators, for parents. Everyone's just having to go to another gear now, especially for schools that are virtual. We have to dig in even deeper and find our resilience and find the wherewithal to continue to learn, improve, make strides, pursue education despite the odds. But every negative has what? What is every negative has a, who can tell me in the chat? For every challenge, there's an positive. Linda said it. For every challenge, there's an opportunity, right? So let's use this situation as an opportunity to advance ourselves. And the way to do that is by teaching your students to share their story of resilience. There is no better way to feel empowered about the difficult situation you're in than by using that moment to drive yourself ahead. And for those who have not seen, let me give you an example. Over here in the Rubin world, we have a completely different approach at cover letters. Completely different than what you've seen before. We don't begin with, hi, my name is so-and-so, I'd be the perfect fit, I'm dedicated, I'm hardworking, I'm passionate, and I'm a natural born leader. Let me ask you, how many cover letters or personal statements have you read where students use those adjectives? Not to fault them, but this is what we do. Show of hands. How many students say they persevere, they're dedicated, they're hardworking, they're a leader? I see a lot of hands going up. Is there anything wrong with saying those things? No. Is it interesting over and over again to somebody who is assessing? No. How do we break the mold? By telling our story. And right now, by telling our story of resilience. Let me give you an example. This is the beginning of a cover letter. The very first thing the employer is going to see. On April 17th, 2020, my parents sat me down and gave me a hard truth. Due to the economic hardships caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, both of my parents were laid off from their jobs. My dad is an electrician and my mom is a front office manager for a dental practice. My dad told me, I know you are busy with school, but if you could find a part-time job, it would help our family financially. Right away, I knew what I had to do. As the oldest of our 4 children, I went online and looked for local job opportunities. I found one restocking shelves at Acme Grocery. Since late April, I have worked part-time at Acme, earning $9 an hour and usually clocking in 20 hours a week, alongside my honors classes and responsibilities as vice president of the Spring High School Computer Club. The COVID-19 pandemic has pushed me in ways I didn't expect, but I am determined to rise to the challenge. My name is John Doe. I want to be your next intern at Tech Corporation. As I demonstrated above, I have battled through tough circumstances and used those moments to improve rather than feel sorry for myself. I know I will bring the same attitude and effort to the Tech Corporation team. Now, let me ask you this. The adjectives that I mentioned at the start, hardworking, dedicated, dependable, perseverance, leader. Do you see any of those words in this story? Were any of those words in there? No. Karen says no. What do we hear? We hear a story, a real story. Raise your hand. How many students are going through a situation just like this right now? Having to get a part-time job, their parents are laid off. This is real. We are living through a historic time. This is the moment for students to share what they are going through, to power them forward, to never let the employer say, I've seen lots of students who are natural leaders. I don't know how to distinguish one from another. This student will stand above. This student's getting that call back. They're getting that interview because it's so real and it's true. This is a unique situation that applies only to this one student, but it's their story. So as difficult as the situation is, it becomes that much more compelling when they're applying for opportunities. So I'll give you this example as a follow-up. I would love for you, show of hands, how many of you are going to go back to school and help students share their story of resilience this year? See a lot of hands. That's great because this is the moment. Let the world judge your students based on their work ethic by giving those people a true, honest to goodness example. Nothing else will work. Nothing else will move them to action than a real story. And this is coming out of journalism. This is where I talk about best practices from industry brought into the classroom. Bill Phelps says, someone's going to tell our story, might as well be us. That's right. Don't let people make assumptions about you. Tell them exactly who you are through your experiences. So I've talked about storytelling in many of our webinars because it is among the most important skills we should learn as young adults, and even as working professionals out there, learning the power of stories. And I talked about in a previous webinar, also for you, come to school this fall with your own stories of success, your own stories of hardship, of your own family members, ones you see online. Keep telling your story, students, of how people overcome the odds. Keep reinforcing it is possible. It's all still in front of them, as long as they dig in. So I appreciate all the comments here about the power of stories. I love sharing this topic, and I hope you'll take this example to heart and really make it your own this year. Okay, let's keep going, keep moving. Let's switch gears. Another way to feel accomplished, feel like you're making strides. How many of you, when you watch your students do public speaking, whether virtually or in person, how many of them use a lot of uhs and ums and likes in between their sentences, in between their thoughts? When you hear a speaker use or all the time, what happens? What are you thinking about when you're listening to them talk? Make sure you do all panelists and attendees. For me, when someone says or between every sentence, that's all I hear. I can't even hear what they're saying. I'm just listening for the uhs and the ums. So this is a interactive exercise, right? Linda says counting how many times they say it, right? So this is an exercise you could do in person or through Zoom or through Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, whatever you're on, okay? Where you're gonna have students be mindful of how often they say or like in their speaking. So this is the exercise. You ask them, and again, it's also playing off of the idea of storytelling and understanding how to tell a story. So we're learning a lot of skills at the same time. We always try to layer on skills through one exercise. So the students could answer, or you could change the question, but here's our recommendation. What is the toughest class or club project you ever completed? Why was it difficult, and how did you solve the problem to find success? We want them to look into the camera lens or look in front of the class and answer that with their story of how they overcame an obstacle. They could take that same story and use it in a cover letter. So you see what I'm getting at here? We're trying to be maximum efficiency. But when they're talking, you're telling them, I'm going to be counting how often you say or This can be done in small groups as well. And if it's virtual, you could use the Zoom breakout rooms and have students do it even as a group. They can count each other. Does anybody here use Zoom breakout rooms yet? It's a neat feature of Zoom where you can put students in small groups and then they come back to the main group later. So there's ways to do this virtually, okay? And you're counting how often they say it. You could do it as a leaderboard, who said it the least, or you can just sort of keep track and let students know. You could have it where everyone knows everyone's score, or you can keep it to that individual student. But the point is, you are keeping track. You're making them be mindful, of how often they say it, so that when they're about to do it the next time, and you can take this piece of advice back to your students, the best piece of advice when you are in between thoughts, rather than say or what's the best course of action? What I just did right there, silence. And Bill was right there on it. Silence. Not only does the silence or the pause, not only does it allow you to not say or but it also brings the audience towards you. When there's a pause, it's in the air. We can feel it. We're waiting for the next thing the person's going to say. So we want the students to get into that habit. And when they can feel that they're improving their public speaking, it'll give them greater confidence for presentations, for interviews, and hopefully, to get back to the theme of our webinar today, make them feel more confident about themselves. As simple as or It's these, again, Over here in Rubin, we focus on the little things. You fix the little things, they have the biggest impact. You remove or you become a dynamic public speaker. You learn to ask for advice in a subject line, people write you back. It doesn't have to be a complicated formula. The little things have the biggest impact. Yes, and I agree. Marie said, and please change it to all panels and attendees. We need to explain, we're not here to criticize your public speaking. We're doing this as an exercise to improve. So I'm counting for a reason. I'm counting so that we can all be aware of this. If we can correct this public speaking issue at a young age, it will provide huge benefit down the road. And all the time in our lives, we have to stand up in front of people and talk. Okay, let's go to our last topic. Something different, something a little fun that draws on social media, kind of an innovative approach to promoting ourselves on social media. So again, let students see clearly all that they have already achieved and all that they have yet to do. And it's called a personal hashtag. All right, so how many of you are familiar with hashtags on Instagram or Twitter, Facebook? We all know by now a hashtag, right? They've been out there a while. And we're going to learn to create one based on our own name that shares our own achievements. And you'll have to judge with your own school if students are allowed on social media platforms through your instruction. Every school is different. But if they're allowed on Twitter or on Instagram, this is a great opportunity to showcase what they have already done. So here's what we do. Let's say you send out dozens of resumes as you look in every direction for a job or internship. Right below your name on the resume, you add a personal hashtag so the resume stands out. For example, I have one of my own that I'll show you in a second called Danny Rubin Portfolio. You can also put that hashtag on a cover letter, in an email signature. It's your own personal brand. Employers see it, and you can say, check me out on Twitter with this hashtag, for instance. The employer goes on Twitter, types in that hashtag, hits enter, and then they see a curated list of your own best moments because you have decided which post to tag with your personal hashtag. So in just a few seconds, the employer can see exactly what you want them to see and nothing more. Not only that, but let's say the employer is looking at 50, 100 applications and they're going through them, next person, but then they stop on yours and they look at your hashtag. Guess what? They're spending time on your application more. What does that mean? It means they're not looking at who? They're looking at you, extra time. Who are they not looking at? Where are they not spending their time? Where are their eyes not gazing over? To everybody else, right? We want to get out of the stack. We want to be recognized and noticed as quickly as possible. And we want employers to say, I love how your students know how to present themselves, how to promote themselves. So to show you what I mean, and I posted this earlier today, just to have like a fresh example. This is a new blog post on our site about I didn't even mention that we have digital badges in our program that students earn digital achievement icons for their resume when they learn certain skills like email etiquette. So we put a blog post on Twitter and tagged it with Danny Rubin Portfolio. So if somebody clicked on that hashtag, they would come right to this list of Twitter items and just see the things that I have tagged with my own name and portfolio. Here's another one from the state of Georgia. I know with some Georgia folks here. Here's a work-based learning example. We helped a student land a promotion this summer at a theme park. Whether that theme park is open or not right now, I probably not. But she landed the promotion by telling her story of success. So we shared it on our Twitter, tagged it again. So I think you're getting my point. Students can make 3, 4, 5 items, tag them, and then make notes to sort of keep it updated throughout the year. Every couple months, maybe delete something, add something new, keep it fresh, keep it current, but it becomes your sort of window into the world to show people what you have accomplished, what you've done in a quick, sort of efficient and clever way. To use and just show that you understand social media. I mean, everybody out there wants to hire a young person who knows social media, right? That's what they all want to find. And this is a really subtle way to say, I'm actually 10 steps ahead of you. I'm promoting myself the same way I could promote your company. So I hope that and we provide instructions for this in our follow-up materials too. So I hope that you'll find use for this. Show of hands, any interest in this idea for really any class? I'd love to see if there's interest in helping students sort of learn how to market and brand themselves and feel like they have a presence, a professional presence out there. It's a great way to feel accomplished, to feel like, again, everything is still in front of you, as hard as it might be. Okay. All right. With that, well, that's great. Bill Phelps says will be a requirement for their portfolio website. Love it. That's great. Thank you, Bill. Great idea to pull out ahead of others. That's what we're all about in here. Simple fixes to stand apart. And it's always through our communication skills. That's how doors open. So with that, let me share this other screen one more time. Reiterate what I offered at the beginning for those who came in a little bit late. Let me get to that screen. We have 5 different, oops, sorry, keeps jumping around on me. 5 different free exercises to boost morale. The 5 that we just covered. If you would like the material for these 5, the brief readings, the exercises, even rubrics where necessary to help you to put this together, all you have to do is type interested with your email address. Interested and your email address. For those of you who are new, we always like to have that quick phone call, quick hello to help you understand the material, learn how to implement it. Some of the returnees know how our instruction works, but it's always great to say hello, learn about your situation, provide it over the phone, talk about it. And so please put, interested and your email address. That'd be great. Also, please bear in mind that 2 weeks from today, another webinar, August 5th, on teaching students how to handle failure. This one's going to kind of hit in a funny spot. I know it's like, ooh, that's a tricky one. And I know we feel it from our students. They're afraid to make mistakes. They try to, study to pass the test, right? We want to make sure they're learning the lessons along the way. Also, I'm hearing from a lot of people now that I realize with the certificate of completion, you feel free to reach out to me. If you've been on a previous webinar and you would like a certificate from a previous webinar you attended, we can put together certificates for previous topics that we covered, and we can send that along. We just made it for today as kind of a new thing. But if you'd like a certificate for a previous webinar you came to, just send a note and we'll put those together and get that out. I appreciate the interest, and I welcome any feedback on how you use these certificates. Bill, the GACD session, you probably have to talk to the GACD folks about that. But at least in our own world, we do want to make certificates something that not only you would use, but students. I mean, how many of you would like to give these types of things to your students? A certificate of completion for your students for attending a webinar. And how many of you think that they should receive it? Well, I guess they would need to either do it live or prove to you that they watched the entire thing, right? Because we couldn't just give it out for saying that they want one. They'd have to show that they put in some work to earn it. So I welcome some thoughts on how we give it to students who may watch these webinars in a recorded fashion. Because we want to make sure they have it, but that they really came by it honestly. So again, any feedback on that, I'm wide open. As you always know from me, open to ideas, feedback, topics. It's been an open door since we've been doing these all along, and nothing will change. And we will continue the webinar trend heading into next year, or into the next school year. And again, inviting students, so making these topics relevant for students and making it part of your lesson planning. Again, we have just a couple more minutes. Always try to finish up at 15 minutes after the hour. And any thoughts, questions, comments on what we did today, anything else that came across your mind as we were talking, happy to listen and learn and see what's on your mind. And I'm sure 2 weeks from now, we'll have a different situation with schools opening in different circumstances. But these skills are timeless. These skills will always matter. It's just a function of how we deliver it to students. But the skills will remain. And that's what I love about communication skills, is that these skills will matter today, tomorrow, years into the future. It's just a function of how we're getting it to our students, what the technology looks like, what the setting looks like, but these skills will always matter. Great. Well, again, I appreciate everybody being here. I think we had another good session today. We'll do it again in 2 weeks. And you can reach out with questions in the meantime. And for those of you who are new and requested these free resources, look out for a Google invite for a quick call in the coming days where we'll just talk briefly, pass it along, get to know you and your situation. It's always nice to talk that way. And since right here in this setting, it's just me, and I see you in the chat, but I can't see and hear you. So it's much better that way to really get to know what's going on where you are in the country. So thank you, everybody. Hope you have a safe rest of your week and weekend, and good luck with all the planning heading into the school year. We're all going to have one heck of a story to tell, aren't we? When we look back on this era, whenever it starts to end, we're all going to have a great story to tell that'll define our careers in many ways. And that's something to be proud of too. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.